Good morning and welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. And this is the road to 47 as we are officially less than 2 months away from President Donald J. Trump being sworn in as the 47th Commander-in-Chief. So we're talking exactly 60 days from now when we see that great day on January 20th, 2025. And we know that from Mar-a-Lago all the way up to the White House, it's 991 miles. It seems that President Trump has done 991 tasks since winning the White House on November 5th, with all of the great cabinet picks out there, the administrative picks, even having enough time to travel to MSG for the UFC fight. We'll look at that a little bit later today in the broadcast. We'll also have a number of great interviews here, including the great senator from Alabama, Tommy Tuberville. We'll also interview Eli Crane out of Arizona, and a long list of people that you'll see here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, including kind of a fun Throwback Thursday moment as well. So let's go to some news of the day. Before we do, let's go to a few posts from world leaders. As you see there, this was following President Trump's great win from none other than Viktor Orban of Hungary, using RSBN's logo there and our video as well, saying the long wait is over. President real Donald Trump is back. So that was awesome to see that. Let's go over to the UK. Nigel Farage, the great conservative rock star of the UK, the leader of Reform UK, saying he's done it again, the most incredible political comeback of our lifetime. Let's go now to Serbia. Check it out. A MAGA hat from the president there. And a few other world leaders did the same thing. So it's always cool to see when the world leaders surround someone that is a common sense leader, one that loves freedom, and one that loves the free world. So that was just 3 out of many world leaders that are very happy that President Trump will be sworn into office on January 20th, 2025. Some other news headlines that we are checking out here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. President Trump on Truth Social this week saying what a great week this has been, perhaps the most successful election results in Republican Party history. Make America great again. Thank you. So he said that there earlier this week. On another note, just yesterday, President Trump also reacted on Truth Social saying there has been justice for Laken Riley. So yesterday, as you guys know, the illegal immigrant Jose Ibarra was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole in the murder of Laken Riley, the 22-year-old Christian Georgia nursing student. Her family saw justice yesterday in that Georgia court, and it was definitely difficult to listen to the family there as they had to kind of relive some of those terrible moments. But justice served, at least on the law side of it, life in prison without parole for Jose Ibarra, the illegal immigrant. Moving on now, let's go to seeing that there are about 1,500 people creating a new caravan in Mexico heading to the United States. That video has been all over the place right now, so we're seeing that happen as well. So another caravan heading to the United States border. Other news that we're following closely is on the international front, of course, as good old Joe Biden authorized Ukraine to use U.S.-supplied long-range missiles for deeper strikes inside Russia. We know that has news story broke about 48 hours ago, but still it's something we're watching here at RSBN. I know you guys are interested in that because we don't want World War III. We want peace. And we know through someone like President Trump and his team, and through the grace of God, we can have peace in America and hopefully throughout the world, as we've seen that already before during President Trump's first administration. All right, and also to wind it down a little bit, finally in some political sports news, you're not allowed, of course, to wear a MAGA hat in the NFL as a player on the field, but the league is allowing the players to do the famed Trump dance without penalty. So that's always cool. We've been seeing a lot of that happening all over the league, from the Detroit Lions, the 49ers, and others out there doing the Trump dance. Nice to see that on the field. Always great to see that with President Trump doing it himself when he's dancing after various speeches or events. Now, speaking of the gridiron, I spoke with a former football coach, Auburn University's Tommy Tuberville. He also, of course, is the senator of the great state of Alabama, who definitely votes red and voted red this past election as well. He has plenty to say about President Trump and his great trifecta victory, and also all of the cabinet picks that President Trump is making, all for the good for this country. So we'll get to that interview in just a minute. On top of that, we'll go to Eli Crane, and then also the Oklahoma Superintendent Ryan Walters, who's been in the news all week about various situations of prayer, God, the Bible, and the Bible actually being put on students' desks in Oklahoma. We have video. We'll have that interview coming up. But here's Tommy Tuberville. And joining us right now is U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville of the great state of Alabama. Sir, thank you so much for joining us here on Right Side.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great to have you. And also, can you share with us your thoughts on the great win from President Trump on November 5th?
Well, I'll tell you, I've had a smile on my face now for over 2 weeks. We worked awfully hard with President Trump. I was the first senator to come out and endorse him. A lot of the senators up here on both sides, Republican and Democrat, said, what's he doing? I mean, he's got no chance. But President Trump is resilient. He's the hardest worker I've ever been around. And he resonates to people. And of course, they had really bad candidates on their side. Kamala Harris and the Walsh vice presidential pick was absolutely off the charts when it comes to being far left. So President Trump ran a great campaign, didn't spend probably a third of the money they spent, and also helped us get some senators across the line as well as congressmen. Now we have all three branches of the government, and now it's time to get something done.
And it's always good to have the Supreme Court edge as well. So it's like, yeah, the mandate that the American people have said for this country should mean that we get all of these appointments and cabinet picks passed right through, right?
Well, you would hope. Going back to the Supreme Court, I think there's a good possibility that President Trump will have an opportunity to send us over possibly even as many as 3 picks from the Supreme Court. We've got 2 that are getting on up there, one that has some health problems. And so it would be awesome if we could get something like that done. But yeah, we've got cabinet members that are coming. We have some have been coming by offices all week. It's an all-star group. I'd consider it an NFL roster when the Democrats had basically a junior high roster of nominees when they came through 4 years ago that was very unqualified, outreaching to the far left, and we have a very good group. President Trump needs his team together and needs it very quickly for us to get things done in the next few years.
I was going to ask you this at the end of the interview, but I might as well ask now because you're talking football a little bit, sir. So what was it like to be with President Trump at the Georgia-Alabama game in Tuscaloosa? I mean, that must have been awesome to see the American people just supporting him so much.
Yeah, it was sad. ABC did the game, and they never even acknowledged on national TV that it was there, but they did recognize him on the Jumbotron. Kid Rock was there, John Daly, Hank Williams Jr. It was a group that very, very American, and the people there at Tuscaloosa that day really gave him a standing ovation, and it really helped President Trump to go out to all his rallies and things because they all energized him to keep doing what he's doing. Keep the pressure on, Mr. President. Keep pushing hard. You can do this. And I think the rallies really and the entertainment experiences that he did, like Alabama-Georgia game, really enhanced him in what he was doing to keep up that energy, because the guy works 18, 20 hours a day. And when you do that, you've got to have some kind of feedback. And the fans there in the University of Alabama and Georgia gave him a great ovation. Yeah, and it was great to see all over social media as well, sir. Can you talk to us about your support for Kash Patel for FBI director? Yeah, very strong on Kash. I've known him now for 4 or 5 years. He's a no-nonsense guy. He understands law enforcement. We have to take back our 3-letter agencies, and the FBI is one of them that is very, very important. Obviously, I think Matt Gaetz taking back the DOJ when he hopefully gets to be confirmed as Attorney General. But Kash Patel has been a follower of President Trump's. He's been basically on his team for years. They understand each other, and President Trump's going to need somebody over there that he can trust, that he can call and say, listen, what's going on here? And he'll get a direct answer. The FBI has basically circumvented everything President Trump's done for the last 5, 6, 7 years, and they've tried to bring him down. They're corrupt. The DOJ's corrupt. CIA's corrupt. The IRS, my God, they're going after Republicans right and left. It's sad. It's sad we've got to this point, but the people voted a mandate to put good people in positions, and Kash Patel would be one of those.
100% draining the swamp, and I agree with you there, sir, as well. U.S. Space Command, Huntsville, Alabama. It looks like that's something, of course, close and near and dear to you, sir. Can you talk to us about that being a priority? As you know, just yesterday, we saw President Trump with Elon Musk in Texas, SpaceX. Why would that be important to go back to Huntsville?
Oh, my goodness. Huge for our country, not just for Huntsville and Alabama. Dale Strong, congressman from up in that area, and myself, we've been working President Trump for several years, knowing that he was going to run again, just letting him know what's going on. But here's what happened. There were 60 cities or communities that filed for the Space Command when President Trump started it. There was a huge review. Secretary of Air Force is responsible for picking that. His Secretary of the Air Force called me and says, Coach, we're going to pick Huntsville, Alabama. We were elated. President Biden comes in office. He chooses a different Secretary of the Air Force. He said, let's do another review. They did. His name was Frank Kendall, Secretary of the Air Force. They had a meeting. President Biden said, Frank, where does it need to go? He said, it needs to go to Huntsville, Alabama. President Biden overrode him, made it political, and left it in Colorado. President Trump will send it back to Huntsville. That's where it should be. And let me tell you something. If I thought Colorado was the best place, I'm on armed services. I see how much trouble we are in the military in terms of a military that can fight a war or defend ourselves. One of the big places in the future is going to be the space. And we are so far behind these 20-year wars, we have to catch up. And so Huntsville is the best place to do this, not just because it's in Huntsville or Alabama. It's because it is the best place to build Space Command and our Space Force.
Right there near the border, of course, of Tennessee, I-65, a great spot for U.S. Space Command. Finally, Senator Tuberville, can you talk to us about just the future of America right now, the golden age that we hope to see, the safety, the peace, the prosperity, our constitutional rights, everything. That was on the line, obviously, for the election. But your thoughts moving forward for the next 4 years?
Our country has been in trouble for the last 4 years. I tell people this everywhere. This will decide the future of most of our lifetimes. You know, those that are in the fourth quarter of life, even some the middle age. Because if we had not taken over this time, open borders, the inflation, the no pumping oil, the climate hoax, the child trafficking, the drugs, all that would have just continued to take our country over. Our moral values would have been gone. We got to get God back in our country. That's one of the top things that we got to fight for, that and family. But we were going down the hole. We were in a whirlwind, just going down the hole. I've been here 4 years. I'm not a politician. I'm not a lawyer, but I got a little common sense, and I could see directly what they were trying to do with the fighting gender, men and women's sports, getting everybody riled up, doing things that have no common sense whatsoever. And we have a chance now. And President Trump knows that. And that's a reason that from day one, January the 20th, we got to be ready to go, because he's going to have a short 4 years. It's going to go by so fast, but we have to put this country back together. We got to get Americans back together. We got to stop this division. If we don't do that, if we don't knock down our debt, if we don't get back to education in our schools, reading, writing, and math, we will not make it. We are the only democracy left in this world. And the globalists are trying to tear us down. I don't understand these Democrats up here. And some of them, I think they understand it, but they follow along with this far left progressive nonsense. And we have got to get this back. But it's not going to be easy. They're going to fight us every step that we go. And so now it's time to fight.
Amen to that. And thank God for a common sense leader like yourself, sir, President Trump and others out there. The U.S. Senator from the great state of Alabama, Tommy Tuberville. Sir, Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. God bless.
And joining us right now is the representative from Arizona, Eli Crane. Sir, thank you so much for joining us here on Right Side.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Definitely. First of all, thank you so much again for your service as well to our country, and also the re-election win there in Arizona. Let's get right to it. The southern border. Obviously, President Trump choosing Tom Homan. They're going to get that job done pretty quickly, aren't they?
I think so. Tom Homan is a no-nonsense guy. He's laser focused, and I think he has the most important ingredient, and that's courage. it's not just Tom Homan. I mean, when you look at the fact that Trump made Stephen Miller a big part of his team, his administration. Stephen Miller is one of the biggest border hawks I know, and he's definitely been one of the top strategists when it comes to border security. And so I'm really excited to see us finally, secure that southern border, prevent even more murders and deaths and rapes and robberies and crime and everything that comes with that southern border being wide open. I know it's not going to be an effort that takes place overnight. I know it's going to take time, but the American people deserve it.
Exactly. And speaking of excitement, your thoughts about President Trump's trifecta win with the electoral vote, the House, the Senate, and we still have that Supreme Court conservative edge as well. So just what are your thoughts right now moving forward for our country?
Yeah, I mean, I was honestly a little shocked to see the win be that big and see the American people turn out. And it's not because, it's not because I don't think that President Trump resonates with the American people. It's just, it was almost like a dream come true. And I try and prepare myself for the worst, but hope for the best. And I was just amazed at, the American people just turning out in droves to basically give a mandate and say, hey, we're tired of the last 4 years. It's been economically crushing to us. We're tired of seeing young, American kids die of fentanyl, young American girls being raped and murdered by people who aren't supposed to be here. We're tired of a government that we don't feel like represents us at all the while sending, hundreds of millions and billions of dollars over to, foreign countries. And so I'm excited to, get going and do everything we can to support the president in his very robust agenda.
Exactly. And then the common sense leadership, to your point there. I mean, the peace through strength as well. A lot of world leaders that are on Team Freedom from around the world, just, it's Team Freedom versus tyranny. That's what we kind of see it as, right? And so many of these world leaders were saying, we're so happy that President Trump has won. So can you talk to us a little bit about that whole peace through strength aspect of having someone in the Oval Office that is strong for our country, which in turn is strong for the world?
Yeah, it's interesting because, there's a lot of individuals, there's a lot of leaders around the world, who want to make big moves. And you notice that they execute their big moves when we have weak, incompetent, and arrogant leaders in Washington, D.C. And you can go back and you can look at what moves were made under the last Trump administration. Vladimir Putin didn't do anything while President Trump was in office. The Ayatollahs, their proxies, were a lot more quiet than they were under the Biden-Harris administration. And so, yeah, and you're already seeing signals from Zelensky and Putin who are, open to discussions of ending this thing in peace talks. You're also seeing Hamas, signaling the same thing because though Hamas, I think, is a very evil organization, they're not stupid. And they understand what that means when we actually have, a very strong leader who will do what he says he's going to do, who doesn't play games. And so I think it's great for the United States, and I think it's great for the world as well. Exactly.
And he will make our military great again. I'm sure you saw those videos that he was playing during those rallies. Quite the contrast. We're going to see some great things happen, as you know, sir. Speaking of military, let's talk about something that's obviously close to you is Veterans Affairs. It looks like President Trump just assigned the Secretary of Veterans Affairs as a former Georgia Representative Doug Collins. Your thoughts about that for our country as well, just, helping out our great people that have served for our country.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't know Representative Doug Collins, so I can't, speak to that at all. But I do trust the president. I've been pretty happy to see many of the appointments and nominations that he's made. And I do know that I can look at President Trump's track record. One of the big things that President Trump did for veterans like myself in his last administration was the Missions Act, which allowed veterans like me, if the VA that is closest in proximity to my home or where I live, if it's not doing a good job or if they can't get me in for an appointment, then I can go out in town and see a private doctor. And I think that's one of the biggest things that, biggest things that we can actually do for veterans, because, I represent about 53% of Arizona, and I have a lot of rural land in my district, and it's hard for many of the, I mean, for a lot of these guys and gals, it's a 2.5, 3 hour drive just to get to the VA. So it makes a lot more sense for them to be able to go out in town sometimes, and sometimes the VAs don't have the specialists that they need as well. And so that's one thing I love about President Trump. He's willing to think outside the box, and he's willing to do everything possible to make sure that our veterans are getting the health care that they deserve.
100%. Two more quick questions for you. One is, obviously you served in our military and now you're serving our country from a congressional standpoint. What was the genesis to you having that drive to do what you do every day, including go out there for us in the military and now in Congress?
Yeah, it was much like, the catalyst for me to join the military in the first place. I actually dropped out of school my senior year in college to go join the Navy the week after 9/11, because I felt like our country was in a very bad way. It was in bad shape, and I wanted to be a part of the next generation that stood up to try and help save it and protect it. And I feel the exact same way running for office. As I've been watching the country, the country that I grew up in and the country that we live in now, it's so different. It's so dystopian. Sometimes I can't even believe the country that I'm living in or the headlines that I read every day. And it was just a wanting and a willingness and a desire to go serve this great country that I was so fortunate to grow up in. And I realized there were a lot of very smart people in Washington. There's a lot of very intelligent people in Washington, people with great pedigrees. But one of the things that is really lacking up here is courage to go against the grain, courage to get sideways with the most powerful people up here, often in leadership. And that's why, I felt I had some qualification to come up here, because I knew that I was willing to actually represent my voters back home, even when it meant, going against leadership. And that's something that I can tell you firsthand is not easy to do up here. But I'm glad that I'm up here, and I feel grateful that, God has called me to be here.
Amen. Amen. And the country, the majority of the nation stands behind you and cheering you on for all the great things you are doing, as do I, and as does Right Side Broadcasting Network. And I just want to ask you one more question before we go. What's next when it comes to for America? We see the golden age. We see President Trump in office. We see the great cabinet picks. We see people like you in Congress. What do you believe is next for our nation? Do you really think that we have to be cautiously optimistic, or are you saying, you know what, this is going to be a great 4 years?
Well, I am optimistic, and I do think a lot of it's going to depend on how much of the swamp, how much of the establishment tries to prevent President Trump's nominations. Like if my friend and colleague Matt Gaetz becomes the Attorney General, he's the exact type of guy that has the courage that I always talk about, necessary to actually go after some of these very powerful people that can ruin your life and throw you in jail. That's not easy to do, and I don't think most people even understand that, especially after we saw the weaponization of the DOJ against President Trump in this last cycle. We're not talking about, taking a hit financially. We're talking about some of these people are trying to throw their political opponents in jail. And that is why courage is the most important thing right now. And so a lot of it's going to hinge on whether or not President Trump's appointments, his nominations can get through the process. Those people can get to work doing what needs to be done. But President Trump also has a very robust agenda. From securing the border, unleashing American energy, making us energy dominant again, ending the war in Ukraine, just to name a few. And so, I'm excited about it, and I'm going to do everything I can to support his agenda.
Representative Eli Crane out of CD2 there in Arizona. Sir, thank you again for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Definitely. Now let's go to Oklahoma Superintendent Ryan Walters. Sir, thank you so much for joining us here on Right Side.
I appreciate you having me on.
You've been doing a lot of national media, of course, here at Right Side as well, about the resistance we're seeing against God in schools, specifically in your school district. Can you bring us up to speed on what's going on down there?
Absolutely. Look, President Trump won a huge mandate on election night, nationally, obviously winning all the swing states, winning by these huge margins. But let me tell you, here in Oklahoma, he won every county again. We are as MAGA as it comes here in Oklahoma, America First agenda. So we have moved to swiftly enact his agenda for education. And you look at that, and he wants to bring prayer back to school. He wants to make sure religious liberty is protected for both students and teachers. Wants to make sure we have school choice, and we're teaching about American values and patriotism in the classroom. So we instantly, hey, we're bringing the Bible back to the classroom. Every classroom is going to have a Bible. And we sent out, we created an Office of Religious Liberty and Patriotism, where we wanted to make sure that teachers and students understand they have the right to pray. They have the right to express their religious beliefs. And of course, you also have the right not to, but that's protected as your way to express your religious beliefs. And oh boy, the teachers unions have lost their minds. The Democrats have lost their minds. But look, we're moving ahead with President Trump's clear mandate here.
Okay, so on that 30,000-foot view, we understand it from that point. But for your specific district, when it comes to prayer, the Bible, the Ten Commandments, what has been happening there? Is it back in classrooms? Is it not? What's going on?
Yes, sir. So we have officially purchased our first round of Bibles. So they are going out actually today. So as we speak, Bibles will be back in the classroom. So our first purchase is over 500 Bibles for our government classes, and we're going to continue to purchase more Bibles and get them in all the classrooms, and they will be taught in their historical context. So when you look through American history, you're talking about the Pilgrims, you're talking about the First Great Awakening, you're talking about Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail, which has multiple references to Bible examples that Martin Luther King followed, like Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Look, our kids are going to have access to the Bible. I mean, it is ridiculous that it was ever removed from the classroom, but we're bringing it back, and we're very proud to be the first state to do that. And it's going to be taught in its historical context with the other founding documents.
That's awesome. It's awesome. And I'm sure that the national mainstream media has given you a lot of pushback to that. But at the end of the day, we, the people, and this country, they want what you're doing there in Oklahoma.
Look, you know, so many of these corporate leftist media types, I mean, they're trying to gaslight the American people. I mean, this is not strange in American history. Until the 1960s, I mean, you'll get a kick out of this, your audience will. The New York Times fact-checked me and said, well, he is factually correct. Until the 1960s, a Bible would have been in every classroom. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, what happened was you had a radical Supreme Court that was such a left-wing apparatus that they took the Bible and prayer out of school when there wasn't a problem. That's what American people wanted. And we're going to get back to that, the understanding of American history, the ability to practice your religious beliefs, no matter where you are in America, that should be protected. And so it's essential for the future of our schools and, frankly, the future of our country to do that. And don't let the corporate left-wing media gaslight us on this issue. 100%.
It sounds like freedom and common sense to me, and that's what we love about President Trump and the MAGA movement coming up for the next 4 years and hopefully beyond. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. Any final words just when it comes to just encouragement for the people as we move forward, as we are a couple months away from the huge inauguration of President Trump?
I couldn't be more excited to be an American and to be in education with President Trump. He's laid out a tremendous vision for the American people. The American people are behind him. Frankly, it's very Churchill-esque to me. I see a lot of that in President Trump. You see people behind him, clear vision here of the path forward. It's very exciting.
Awesome. Oklahoma Superintendent Ryan Walters, thank you so much for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you.
All right, so you heard there that the Bibles are currently being distributed through various classes, government classes in Oklahoma. I'm told specifically these are within AP government classes all across the state of Oklahoma, every county voting red for President Trump. Prayer and Bibles in school, it's what we the people desire. All right, so before we continue with our interview segment, let's hashtag RSBN TBT. Let's go to a Throwback Thursday segment here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to the first day of Donald Trump's presidency, January 20th, 2017, at his inaugural speech.
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C. and giving it back to you, the people.
All right, so a little bit of a Throwback Thursday there, January 20th, 2017. What a powerful statement that was. And the applause and the roar of the crowd there at the National Mall outside the Capitol when he was talking about bringing all of that power to the people. Obviously, people in the sense of a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So a wonderful, wonderful moment there. We've got two more for you, two more Throwback Thursday segments here for you. Real quick, why don't we go to a very brief one. The other day, Madison Square Garden, New York City, DJT, quite the moment. Take a listen. All right, so that was obviously a quick one there, but it was awesome to see President Trump with a whole cast of great people there on Saturday night. We actually had that live coverage. It was kind of like a Trump cam that we had as President Trump was at MSG. So awesome moments there. And speaking of our last awesome moment of this broadcast when it comes to Throwback Thursday, November 5th, Bobby McNeely, Christina Loren, myself, others here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, we were honored and we were so grateful to be able to call President Trump the win in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and for the presidency. Take a look. Good evening and welcome to Election Night in America. I'm Matthew Alvarez alongside Bobby McNeely and Christina Loren, who I think combined have about 1 million miles traveled on the campaign trail over the past couple months.
And breaking news, RSBN is proud to project that the Peach State of Georgia will be going its 16 electoral votes for President Donald Trump. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger saying that his lead is insurmountable and Vice President Kamala Harris will not surpass President Donald Trump. Georgia is on my mind, and that was a special moment for me personally. My adopted home state is really on the verge now of saving America. 16 electoral votes, Georgia going for President Trump.
All I can do is smile right now.
You're watching very closely what's happening in Pennsylvania because this is a state where election integrity, at least when it comes to our 50 states that make up this great nation, it's Pennsylvania that we're watching the most closely.
Okay, we know that RSBN right here, Right Side Broadcasting Network, projects that President Donald J. Trump has won the swing state of Pennsylvania. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania won by President Donald J. Trump. 19 electoral votes. When Bobby read about Georgia, I understand where you're coming from now, buddy. Being born in that state, 19 electoral votes, and we are now 4 votes. Is it 4 votes? 20, 21, 20, 4 votes away. And then President Trump will be back at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus.
Amen.
Wow. President Donald Trump, there it is, guys. 19 electoral votes. The huge swing state is won by President Donald J. Trump. Right Side Broadcasting Network is projecting that Donald J. Trump will become the 47th president of the United States of America. He is now President-elect Donald J. Trump. We can confirm that right now on Right Side Broadcasting Network. As you see right now, the projected winner, Donald Trump, elected the 47th president. RSBN projects that right now as we get ready to go to Palm Beach, where President Trump, President-elect Donald Trump, will take the podium there. And my, oh my, this is so great because, again, this is not a rally. This is not a campaign stop. This is a speech to the American people. God has protected him. God has been with him and is with this nation. And I believe in great things for the world coming up. So many leaders across the world. Think about it, from Hungary's Viktor Orban to the former president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, and others around the world that will celebrate. I believe the free world will celebrate as they hear the news that President Trump is back in office, let alone, obviously, countless millions of Americans. Think about the people right now, guys, right now, wherever people are watching Right Side or wherever they're hearing this news, the joy, the excitement, maybe even fireworks. I know it's not July 4th, but I'll tell you, You know, there might be some fireworks going on tonight just out of joy for our country. So this is very historic, and we are seeing it. We have a front row seat, and as do you. We, the people that are watching this right now, this is all about us. And this is what President Trump said every time he did one of those speeches. He said, when we win the White House, when we win the White House, and we have won the White House. Thank God in heaven. Wow, what a night, guys. What a night. And no, I didn't do all the talking throughout that night. It was a lot of great analysis and commentary with Bobby McNeely and Christina Loren. I posted that on my Truth Social maybe a couple weeks ago. Can you believe it, guys? I mean, if you listen closely to that video, you might hear a few sniffles. Well, that was coming from me, Bobby, Christina. It was quite the night when our COO, Grace Saldana, said in our IFB ear system that we can declare and project that President Trump, that Donald Trump wins the presidency. And to hear that and to deliver that to more than 5 million people, literally 5 million plus on all platforms that night, were watching. And they weren't watching just for our own coverage. This was years from 2015, all that love that you guys have for Right Side Broadcasting Network and for President Trump and for MAGA culminated on that night. And it was wonderful to be able to report here live with you guys. Many great things to come, I believe, here at the network. But until then, what we do know is we will have coverage from now all the way up until Inauguration Day. We'll have this show, of course, the Road to 47. Right now, it's airing every Thursday. We'll give you some more details about the next episode, though, because next week is Thanksgiving, of course. But, all right, so we're just getting started actually here on this episode right now. So here on RSBN, we'll hear from Pastor Mark Burns, a spiritual leader and good friend of President Trump, of course. Then we'll be followed by Sam Markstein. He's with the Republican Jewish Coalition. He'll talk to us about the great pick of Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Then we'll go to Atlanta, where businessman Bruce Levell, who is MAGA OG, as you guys know, a great businessman in Atlanta, a great friend of President Trump, one of the senior advisors as well. We'll be talking to him about small business and the importance of small business across this country. And then finally, we'll head out west to El Cajon, California. The mayor there, Bill Wells, just outside of San Diego, talking about the need for the southern border to be closed. If you missed our top of our broadcast, you can watch this a little bit later. But I mentioned about 1,500 people in a new caravan. There's video out there that some of you have seen heading up through Mexico to the United States. So obviously that's all in that region there. So we'll hear from that mayor in just a bit. So let's go right now to our first interview with Pastor Mark Burns. And Pastor Mark Burns joins us once again here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Sir, I want to get your thoughts. The win for President Trump back on November 5th. What do you feel?
I mean, listen, historic. Again, I had a front row seat to watch the greatest political comeback in United States history take place with the re-election of Donald J. Trump and the return to the White House. I mean, we were all exploded when they called Pennsylvania, when we won Georgia, when we won North Carolina, and we won every battleground state that we were competing in. It was just an amazing moment to have a front row seat and see the president come out. And, you know, I had texted him right before he came out and I said, Mr. President, are you ready to witness the greatest political comeback in U.S. history? And I said, sir, I'm reminded him that God spared your life twice. He spared your life twice for such a time as this, to lead not just the nation, but to lead the world back to him. And I was amazed when he got up and he gave his speech. He reminded the world just that God spared his life for such a time as this. And so again, it was just an amazing moment. We won the House, we won the Senate. Of course, we won the presidency. We have the judiciary branch with the Supreme Court. So right now, Republicans have the greatest opportunity, I believe, in modern day history to turn this nation back around to have conservative values, conservative principles that can impact this nation for the next 50 years.
Exactly, and you must be very thrilled to be a chairman at one of the inaugural balls. Can you tell us about this? Have you done this before? Is this your first time? What's going on?
This is not the first time that Impact, MPAC.cc, for those who want to go to the ball. Impact is the Multicultural Policy and Political Action Conference. It essentially, we call it the minority version of CPAC. It is where we have Indians and Asians and African Americans and Jews and Hindus and Muslims and every ethnic group that you could think of, the Hispanic community, all coming under one banner to celebrate the greatest president in our lifetime. And that's what Impact does. And I'm honored to be the chairman of Impact. And we are putting on the Multicultural Coalition U.S. Presidential Inauguration Ball that's going to happen on Monday, January the 20th at 6 p.m. That's going to be located at the Washington Times Arbor Ballroom that's going to happen in D.C. And it's for free. And we're right now, we're like over 500 people that's RSVP, but you still have time to RSVP by simply going to impact.cc, and you can get in for free. It's a black tie event because we're going to have dignitaries, heads of states from other countries, like, for instance, His Royal Highness Tutu II, the ruling king of in Ghana. He is going to come with the Royal Prince. We have presidents from Uganda that's going to be there, that's scheduled to be there. We have other kings from to be there. We have South American presidents that are coming, and dignitaries, ministers that going to be there. People from a multicultural standpoint, and these heads of states, along with all their Secret Service, will be coming to this inaugural ball. And we do got a special guest. I can't talk about it, but we do have a special guest that's going to be there as well. General Michael Flynn is going to be there. Congressman Alan West is going to be there. We have several major business billionaires that's going to be there from the Jewish community. So we're really just showing what America should really look like in the conservative movement. And that is bringing everybody under the sun, blacks, whites, Hispanics, Asians, Indians, anybody you could think of coming under one banner to unify in this nation and to support the greatest president in our lifetime, Donald J. Trump.
And President Trump, of course, has run to be president of all of America, now getting that chance for another 4 years. And Pastor, just want to end with this here, just under the whole system of freedom. That's really what that ball is going to be beautiful, because it's all about people that are in a free country. Can you talk about that a little bit, but also your personal feeling of being able to be involved with something on such a global, world-class scale?
Well, it's an honor. I mean, it is truly an honor to do so, to represent the United States of America, to be a confidant and a friend of Donald J. Trump, and to be seen as such by heads of states, other dignitaries, members of the diplomatic corps, global leaders and global business leaders. They're all coming together as one people. That's what America should look like. There isn't a black America. There isn't a white America. There isn't a Hispanic America. There's just America. And we're all people from all different backgrounds. And we should all be proud of our heritage and where we've come from. But under the eyes of God, we're all God's people. That's why I said at the Republican National Convention that, that all lives matter, not just one particular, not just black lives or white lives, but all lives matter in the eyes of the Lord. And we're his servants. And President Trump ran on this principle that he is a president for all races, for all people, for all communities, that when the tide rises, all the boats rise with it. And so this is not a black agenda. This is not a white agenda, a Hispanic agenda, an Asia agenda. This is just America, multiculturalism, celebrating. And hopefully, Matthew, hopefully we'll see you and your wonderful wife. Hopefully you guys will get to be there. I know you guys are so busy, but we're so honored to get to see you and your wonderful family, and to be with all the other dignitaries that are going to come, because they love America, because America is the shining city on the hill. and Donald Trump is our captain.
100%. The American agenda, Pastor. How awesome is that? I mean, again, even when you're preaching on a Sunday, I'm sure you are have an extra pep in your step a little bit, no?
Absolutely. I mean, again, because God has given us a reproof for 4 more years. He's given us a reproof to turn this nation back to him. And again, we control the House. We control the Senate. We control the Senate. We control the judiciary branch, right? And you see the nominations that President Trump is putting forward. He's putting some America First leaders in these positions, nominating these true America First leaders and to help erase the corruption and the cabal that has boggled down America. That's why I'm excited about Elon Musk and Dodge and Vivek Ramaswamy, and helping to identify the waste that happens in federal government, the spending that happens in federal government, and clean out and remove the bureaucracy that slows up the process so that the federal government can do what it was designed to do, and that is to truly serve all Americans as fast as possible. And that I'm excited about what Donald Trump is doing and the direction he's already leading our nation.
Exactly, and it's going to be great. And if we can make it out there, it's going to be really awesome to be there. But also, Pastor, to see the official swearing in of Donald Trump is going to be such a, what a political comeback, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, I had a front row seat in 2016, and I'm going to have a front row seat here in 2024, 2025 to witness my friend once again lay his hands on the Bible and to swear an oath unto first the Lord Jesus Christ, the true living God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he will defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and that includes all Americans. This is why the Multicultural Coalition Ball that is going to be happening on that night, starting at 6 p.m., which you do have time to still request RSVP by going to impact.cc. We're like already at 500. We're already at 500 people that has RSVP'd, and we have more and more dignitaries that are coming from around the world that are coming to assemble on this great, beautiful day. And we have a special guest that will be coming as well. So it just says America is coming together, but the world is coming together to celebrate the inauguration of Donald J. Trump as the 47th president of the United States of America. And I'm excited about the next 4 years, but after the next 4 years, that's where we still got to be prayed up. We still got to be fighting. We cannot rest. We still got a lot of work to do. So for every conservative that's watching this broadcast, it is not time to just celebrate and do nothing. We got to keep the fire. We got to keep the America First agenda moving forward for the next crop of leaders that's going to come. In 2 years, the American people will tell us, did they make the right decision by making sure that we retain the House and the Senate in 2 years? And in 4 years, we got to make sure that the next crop of leaders that's coming after President Trump that are carrying the American First agenda, that they are solidified, they're in positions to help carry the American flag to the next level and until the next season.
Perfectly said. Pastor Mark Burns of South Carolina. Sir, great to see you and hope to see you again really soon.
Thanks, Matthew.
And Sam Markstein with the Republican Jewish Coalition joins us right now from Washington, D.C. Thanks so much for joining us on Right Side.
Great to be here.
Your thoughts about November 5th?
So for any pro-Israel voter, for any voter that cares about the U.S.-Israel relationship, this was a life-saving election. President Donald Trump is going to pick up right where he left off as being the most pro-Israel president in U.S. history. And you've already started to see it as he builds out his really incredible, what I would call a dream team of cabinet people. So you're talking about Senator Rubio at State, Governor Huckabee, ambassador to Israel, Elise Stefanik to go shake things up at the United Nations, Mike Waltz as national security advisor, and the list goes on. And we're really, really excited for what's to come in the new Trump administration.
Exactly. And then how about the Abraham Accords? I think Mike Huckabee's already spoken about even extending that to more nations. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, President Trump should have received the Nobel Peace Prize for the first Abraham Accords iterations that happened a few years ago in the South Lawn of the White House when he brought Israel peace with its Arab neighbors, extending the circle of peace in the Middle East. There's clearly an appetite out there to extend that circle to include big countries like Saudi Arabia and some others. And I'm sure, just as he did in the first administration, this will be a top priority for the Trump administration to restore peace, security, and quiet to the region. And part of that, of course, is to restore maximum pressure on Iran and make sure that they don't have the resources or the capacity to continue to fund their reign of terror in the region.
And speaking of war, let's take a 30,000-foot view right now. Of course, Israel and the United States are allies on the same team. But if there is another war that's started by whoever out there on the planet, what's your take right now, just looking at the fact that it does seem to come down to freedom versus tyranny once again, even though President Trump won the White House?
Yeah, whether it's Iran and its terrorist proxies fighting Israel, whether it's Russia fighting against Ukraine, whether it's the Chinese, circling Taiwan, this has clearly been a 4-year period of weakness, appeasement, and danger and chaos around the world. And so on January 20th, 2025, the sheriff is back. Donald J. Trump is back in town to restore peace through strength, which is the only way to secure peace throughout the world. And you can rest assured, the American people can rest assured that days of peace and security that we had lie ahead again.
Exactly. That's what we're hoping to see here in our country for peace and safety, and then, of course, throughout the world. And Sam, can you talk to us a little bit more about the Jewish faith and the Jewish people in America right now? When they see someone like President Trump in there, that must be a sigh of relief.
There's no question that we've seen a dramatic spike in anti-Semitism, not just globally, but unfortunately here at home in the United States. I mean, you've got half of Jewish college students saying they're afraid to tell their classmates that they're Jewish. You've got half of American Jews afraid to wear religious symbols in public. So there's serious anxiety and angst in the community after 4 years of, again, weakness and appeasement and refusing to condemn the pro-Hamas mobs, refusing to hold universities accountable, refusing to prosecute these terrorist sympathizers on our streets. And so when Donald Trump is sworn in on the Bible on January 20th, 2025, again, there's a new sheriff back in town. The days of impunity for those that would terrorize Jews in America are over, and it couldn't come soon enough.
And to your point, number 18 out of the 20 GOP promises with President Trump's administration, number 18 is deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. So that's right down exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, no question about it. If you are here on a student visa and you are marching in the streets saying you stand with Hamas, you should be deported. If your university refuses to protect its college Jewish students, you should lose federal funding. I mean, these are very popular, very common sense things. I mean, people don't even realize this, but Hamas is banned in the West Bank. I mean, the PA, the Palestinian Authority, doesn't even play this game. They say if you go out and you preach about supporting Hamas, you're going to jail. The same should be the case here, and that shouldn't be anything that's controversial at all.
Exactly. That's a great point that you make about the PA out there. But also, one more thing before I let you go, Sam. When you look at Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, Taliban, all of these names, Sharia law, these are things that really, at the end of the day, that President Trump, yourself, and all of us are talking about, correct?
So we want to make sure that this is a battle that Western civilization wins. I mean, Prime Minister Netanyahu said it very clearly in his address to Congress, which P.S. Kamala Harris skipped for a sorority luncheon at the time, that this is a battle of good versus evil. This is civilization versus barbarism. This is a fight that we cannot lose. Israel is the tip of the spear, but all these different terrorist organizations, when they say death to Israel, death to America is right the next syllable. And they mean it when they say it. And so we need to win this. And with President Trump leading the way, we will.
Sam Markstein with the Republican Jewish Coalition from Washington, D.C. Sir, thank you so much for joining us at Right Side. We'll see you again soon.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And one of President Trump's senior advisors and longtime friend, of course, Bruce Levell, joining us from Atlanta, also a businessman in Georgia. So you're pretty busy, aren't you, Bruce?
Yeah, very much. The train is still rolling full steam.
I hear you. Your thoughts about President Trump's great victory on November 5th?
Well, I have to say I knew it was coming. Obviously from 2020, the country shut down and all the obstacles we had to deal with, and we actually gained more in 2020. So I never doubted that we would win, and I really mean that. A lot of people always say, "Oh, I knew all the time," but I was very confident about it because I knew I knew the pulse of this great America First movement. So now it's time to get back to what we call the hashtag unfinished business. Obviously, what we started from January 21st of 2017. So I'm really excited and anxious to fulfill that actual plan that we put together from 2017.
Yeah, can you believe it? I mean, at the end of the term in 2028, that's 12 years. Obviously, 8 years of him officially in office, but it seemed like he was semi-quasi the president during the 4 off years. I mean, he's been such a great common sense leader, Bruce.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've been campaigning technically for 8 solid years. Let's just be honest with that one. So it feels like I've been running a marathon every day. So, but listen, I know everyone's excited. You saw how the market's reacting. You see the world reacting more than anything from our foreign adversaries and our allies, et cetera. So, everyone's waiting on President Trump to get in there and let's get some leadership going.
Exactly. And we're seeing those cabinet picks and administrative picks right now. There's still a number of picks yet to be fulfilled, but there are still a number of days until, of course, Inauguration Day. Let's talk about one of your expert analysis and also history and experience within small businesses throughout the country, running one yourself. Your thoughts about moving forward under President Trump's second administration?
Yeah, obviously, and that is my wheelhouse. I have been in business close to 30 years here in Atlanta, retail market as well as development. And with that comes with a lot of friends that are in the same game, whether it be the coffee shop owner, the butcher, the baker, or the candlestick maker, Matt. You want to use it in those terms. But listen, I was just listening to my good friend this morning, Kevin O'Leary, and I know there were conversations about Treasury and Commerce, et cetera, especially in the Treasury nominee. Is that it's critical, and I've been fighting for this for forever, is not to forget the 60+% of the small business. And remember, we were 30 million of us, so we pretty much control and have buy-in of the nation's coffer, as you might say, of 60+% of the GDP. So I would like to see that more focused instead of just the stratosphere. I want them to come down and come a little lower altitude and really look at the small business on the economic engines, because a lot of them, respectfully, did not return or didn't get back to their full capacity since the shutdown in 2020. Whether it be regulations, I like to see the small banking regs be readjusted on Dodd-Frank. I would definitely be a strong proponent for that, getting more local banks like we used to have for more local control, and not the bigger banks, because big business, big banks, small business, small bank. It's a philosophy that's been around for generations. You can read the E-Myth books. They talk a lot about that.
I want to get back to that staggering statistic about the 60+% of the GDP in our country comes from small businesses. Can you dive in to the importance of Main Street over Wall Street, right?
Well, one of the reasons why we get kind of pushed to the side, if you can use that term, we're not, leveraging huge high power voice boxes with huge lobbying firms. Obviously, some of the Fortune 300 larger companies, as well as Fortune 500, has what we call a lobbying shop, which is a whole slew of attorneys that they hire, which are very expensive to go lobby for their best interests. When the smaller businesses, it's a little harder and difficult to get a voice for regulations that are hurting them or affecting their bottom line, whether it be from the trade perspective, where it be from the health insurance perspective, where one of the biggest caveats, or should I say the golden egg, is being able to afford good quality health care to retain employees, especially when you're a small business. It's like it's the creme de la creme if you can deliver that. And so with high prices like that, it's almost impossible to afford good health care for employees with, companies with 10, 5, 11, 12, 13 employees for that matter. So there's a lot of line items that can be addressed, especially from the tax cuts perspective, especially from the FICA. You saw the Trump tax cuts and how that, and I've said this because I'm a numbers guy. It's like that's the only antidote to stimulate the economy, is to lower the tax burden on the employer, which in turn puts more money in the employee's checkbook, checking account, which in turn has more discretionary income to spend, which moves the economy. And not to mention the employer having more can incentivize their employees more, like health care and other bonuses, et cetera, and training that can improve their skills to make more money. So it's a very important thing for me. I hope and plan to be very active in the next 4 years in the Trump administration on this particular subject. I was appointed last term when he was president on the southeast of the United States for the advocacy of small business to the White House. We did with the regulations, cuts, and et cetera, but hopefully we'll get through with all the distractions of the impeachment hoax, the Russian hoax collusion, and all of that, because that was so distracting on denying the other good work that we needed to do to help the nation.
So if you're just joining us right now, Bruce Levell, of course, one of President Trump's longtime friends, senior advisor as well, businessman in Atlanta. Another addition to your resume is the expertise you have in media. I mean, you have been on various networks defending President Trump, but also speaking America First values since day one, it seems like. What are your thoughts about, finally here, the media landscape shift that you see right now from the mainstream kind of cable to independent media and conservative media?
Well, you saw that's been trending that the MSNBC couple went over to Mar-a-Lago, as I call it, to probably kiss the ring. That's okay. We'll do that. But listen, I'm joking. But, one of the things is that over the last several years, we've saw what can happen when the majority of the messaging components side one way and just spew out whatever they want to spew out, whether it's true or not. And you see the implications, what could happen to the nation, which essentially affects the world. A lot of people don't realize that. So I think, great networks like RSBN here, a lot of podcasts that are independent podcasts where people can go to and get other forms of information. Of course, obviously, with Elon acquiring Twitter, now formerly Twitter, now it's X. These are pioneering achievements, as I might say, to go ahead in the future that can bring good quality news to the American people and not just be relying on 5 or 6 cable news network conglomerates, as well as some of the publications and some of the newspapers across the country. Exactly.
And of course, one of the free and fair social media networks, Truth Social, I know you're on there as well, as am I. Yeah. So it's great to see a number of conservative media, not conglomerates at this point, but still making an impact for the American people. So Bruce Levell, thank you so much for joining us from Atlanta. Let's have you again on the show as soon as possible. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep. And joining us right now here on Right Side Broadcasting Network is the mayor of El Cajon in California, outside of San Diego, Bill Wells. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on Right Side.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely. So your thoughts, President Trump winning on November 5th.
Well, obviously, I'm extremely excited about this. One of the main reasons I'm excited is because California has taken the brunt of this immigration crisis, which has been absolute disaster for all the border cities, and really mine as well. My city was one of the 3 drop-off places in San Diego County for migrants. So I'm extremely happy that we're finally going to be taking law and order back into consideration and running the country like there is some kind of rule of law.
Exactly, and that's what President Trump will bring, that security, that safety. Also naming the border czar, Tom Homan, to the job too. Yep. He means business. It looks like confirmed recently that some of the military will be helping in assistance with the deportation and all that. I mean, it's going to be the real deal.
Yeah, I think, for the first year or maybe even longer, most of the effort's going to be on deporting people that have committed crimes or had committed crimes in their home countries, or perhaps were involved in terrorist organizations. And I think that is just and right. That's exactly what we should be doing. And that's probably, so many of those have come across that we'll probably be doing that for a fair amount of time. At some point, we're going to be getting into the the people that have come across that weren't criminals, that just came across illegally. And I'll be interested to see how that all plays out. But I think it's going to be a while before we get there, and it's going to give the country the opportunity to get used to the concept of reclaiming our borders and reclaiming our sovereignty.
And let's go to that, reclaiming our sovereignty and within our country, of course. I mean, the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion. I mean, the basics of our Constitution. At that 30,000-foot view, just your thoughts right now as President Trump has won the White House. Of course, we've got control of the Senate, the House, and also the edge in the Supreme Court.
You know, I think the country has never been closer to being dissolved and to losing America for what it really is and what it always has been. We came awfully close to losing everything. And I see it by the grace of God that we were given another opportunity to reclaim America and run America as though it was meant to be run. But that means we're going to have to be tough. We're going to have to take a hard stand on some of these really ridiculous liberal progressive ideas that have almost destroyed the country. So I'm very excited, but I think there's quite a bit of work to do, and we're certainly going to see a lot of pushback.
Well, definitely. And we know that Make America Great Again, man, that's just something that we the people have voted for. So it must feel good to see that as a mayor, even in California. I mean, there's quite a few millions of people that voted for President Trump in the Golden State.
You know, it's interesting. If you took Los Angeles out of the equation, California votes Trump. It's really only these mega cities that push us over the edge towards liberal lunacy. I have always run a city that is conservative. We have 5 conservative council members. We have always stood against being a sanctuary city. And we've always taken the stance that we're going to cooperate with immigration as long as we possibly can. It's not an easy thing to do. By state law, our police department is not allowed to contact ICE or have any cooperation with the Border Patrol. And I'm hoping that the federal government will change that. I think it can do so, even though California has the right to set their own rules. I think the federal government has the right to withhold funding for states that don't want to behave as American states.
Wow.
And I think that it's perfectly acceptable to say, California, if you want to commit suicide, do it on your own dime, but we're not going to pay for it. Yeah, which I think will get attention pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. I'm sure a lot of people are surprised to hear that as well there in California. But again, President Trump back at the helm in about we have January 20th right around the corner. So Mayor of El Cajon out there in California, Bill Wells. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. We'd like to have you on the program again in the near future.
Yeah, anytime. I just want to tell your listeners, we're going to do everything we can to work with the Trump administration to get these things done.
Amen. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
All right, so El Cajon's about 25 miles east of the gorgeous town of San Diego. Of course, not doing so great in certain spots of San Diego when it comes to homelessness, but also the entry point there with illegal immigrants. So San Diego has a lot to take care of. That was the mayor of El Cajon, Bill Wells, just again 25 miles east of San Diego. At the latest statistic, I'm looking at about 5.8 million people in California voted for President Trump. We'll be looking at some more of those stats a little bit later. But the point is, we see, again, his point, if you took away Los Angeles, well, it would be Trump country. But there are people in LA that I believe love President Trump as well. So still a lot of great gains in California, New Jersey, Virginia, Minnesota. It was so close when it came to Virginia and Minnesota. If you remember watching on election night here, we didn't know which way the states would go when it comes to those two states. But man, it's good to see President Trump winning that election, as you guys saw on November 5th. We are exactly 60 days away from President Trump taking that oath of office on January 20th, 2025. So this broadcast, The Road to 47, brought to you by MyPillow, MyPillow.com. All you have to do is go to MyPillow.com/RSBN for quite the discount there, as you guys see on your screen, 80% off of everything. All right, so that's quite the discount, including the Go Anywhere pillow. If you guys remember after the rallies, we would always talk about MyPillow, of course, and it's good to hold this pillow again and talk to you about it. This is the Go Anywhere pillow, and then also there is My Coffee. Good stuff with Mike Lindell. So MyPillow.com, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And if you'd like to donate to the network at all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801. So if you text RSBN to 801-801, obviously this network is not bought and paid for by any woke corporations. This is all about patriotism, freedom of speech, the Constitution, we the people, President Trump in the sense of being a conservative MAGA leader that he is, and a lot of great picks that he has with the cabinet and the administrative picks. There are still a few more vacancies yet, but he will get that done, and we will cover that here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So this was episode 2 of The Road to 47. Episode 3 will air on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, because next Thursday, of course, is Thanksgiving. Can you believe it? It's just less than a week away, or exactly a week away at this point. Excited about that. So Tuesday, 11 a.m., The Road to 47, episode 3. Already in the bullpen, we've got a number of interviews, including a sheriff from Florida that is full-on MAGA, full-on law and order. He'll be on the show. We'll tell you more about that on Tuesday. Also, coming up next here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, as soon as this broadcast ends, it'll go right into the RSBN Economic Report with Philip Patrick and myself for the Birch Gold Group. We'll have that coming up in just a minute. All right, that does it for this second episode of The Road to 47, countdown to the inauguration for all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Have a great day, and we'll see you in a bit.
From the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen-size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.